The alien market was loud and crowded, filled with strange creatures from many planets. Bright lights flashed from tall poles, and the air smelled of smoke, oil, and spices. Stalls sold weapons, tools, and exotic foods. But the biggest crowd stood around the auction platform, where cages held living beings for sale. One by one, the auctioneer had sold rare slaves, warriors, and even captured beasts. The buyers shouted prices, waving their credits in the air. But now, the auction was almost over. Only one cage stood at the center of the stage, heavy and tall, with thick iron bars. Inside it, a green-skinned alien girl stood proud and silent. She was unlike the others. Her skin was bright emerald, shining under the lights. Her hair was long and silver, flowing down her back like silk. Her clothes were just torn rags, dirty and ripped, but she stood tall with her head held high. Her eyes, glowing with a sharp golden light, stared at the crowd with anger and defiance. She looked like she would rather die than bow. The auctioneer, a fat alien with 3 eyes and a loud voice, slammed his staff on the wooden floor. "This is your last chance," he shouted. "The fiercest prize of them all. The wild warrior. From the Zilari tribe, stronger than 10 soldiers. But no one has tamed her yet. Who dares to buy?" The crowd murmured, but no one stepped forward. They had all heard the stories. This girl was untamable. She had attacked her captors, broken bones, even killed one of the traders. No chain could hold her for long. Many believed she carried a hidden power, something dangerous. "She's not worth the price," a lizard-like alien whispered. "She'll kill you in your sleep," another muttered. The auctioneer looked desperate. "Come on, she's the last one. You'll never find such a fierce fighter again." But still silence. Then from the back of the crowd, a voice spoke. "I'll buy her." Heads turned. A human stepped forward, pushing through the aliens. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and wore black combat armor with metallic plates on his chest and arms. His hair was short and brown, his jaw rough with stubble. A scar crossed his eyebrow, making his gaze even sharper. The auctioneer blinked. "You? A human? You want her?" "Yes," the man said calmly. "Name your price." The crowd gasped. A human buying the wild Zilari girl? Madness! She'd tear you apart. Someone laughed. "Or maybe he likes a challenge," another jeered. The auctioneer smiled slyly. "A brave human, indeed. But I must warn you, she is more beast than girl." The human stepped closer to the cage. He looked at the green-skinned girl. She didn't flinch. She stared back, her golden eyes full of fire. "What's your name?" The human asked. The girl didn't answer. She just sneered. "Doesn't matter," the human said. "I'm still buying." The auctioneer grinned. "Very well, human. Pay me, and she's yours." The human threw a heavy pouch of credits onto the table. The auctioneer counted quickly, eyes wide. "Sold!" he shouted. To the brave human, the cage door creaked open. The girl didn't move. She watched carefully, waiting for a trap. The human stepped forward, but instead of chains or weapons, he simply held out his hand. "You're free to fight me," he said. "Or you can walk beside me." The girl narrowed her eyes, confused. No one had ever given her a choice before. "You think I'm weak?" she hissed. "No," the human replied. "I think you're strong. But strength deserves respect." For a moment, they stared at each other. The crowd watched in silence, waiting for blood. Then, slowly, the girl stepped out of the cage. She didn't take his hand, but she didn't attack either. "What's your name, human?" she asked. "Raylan," he said. "I am Zara," she replied coldly. "If you try to chain me, I'll kill you," Raylan smiled. "Fair enough." Together, they walked off the platform, leaving the stunned crowd behind. Whispers spread quickly. The human had bought the untamable, and she had walked with him by choice. In the shadows, some watched with interest. The story of the human and the wild alien girl was only just beginning. Asterisk as the crowd's noise faded. Behind them, the dusty alleys of the alien market grew darker and quieter. Neon lights buzzed weakly on the walls, casting eerie colors on Zara's glowing green skin. She kept her distance from Raylan, watching his every move like a predator. Studying another hunter, she had escaped before. She had broken chains, snapped necks, and vanished into the night. Yet this human, he didn't chain her. He didn't carry a whip or a shock collar. He simply walked ahead, confident she would follow. Zara's mind raced with questions. Why? Did he buy her? Why wasn't she in shackles? What game was this? Suddenly, without warning, she dashed forward. She grabbed a rusted metal pipe lying on the ground and swung it at Raylan's back with all her strength, but Raylan didn't even flinch. In a flash, he turned, caught the pipe with one hand, and twisted it from her grip. His other hand grabbed her arm, holding it firm but not hurting her. Good swing, Raylan said with a grin. But I expected that. Zara bared her sharp teeth. Why don't you fight back, human, afraid to hurt me? Raylan's eyes locked on hers. If I wanted a slave, I would have chained you. But I need a warrior, Zara froze. No one had ever called her that with respect. Only as a weapon, a beast or worse. What do you want from me? She asked, still tense. I want you to survive, Raylan said. And maybe, just maybe, fight by my side. She spat on the ground. You'll regret this. Maybe, Raylan shrugged, but I don't think so. They continued walking, but Zara's mind was no longer on escape. She was curious. What kind of human was this? Soon they reached a small ship docked at the edge of the market. It was old, but sturdy, with patched armor and engine scars. A survivor's ship. The ramp lowered with a hiss, and inside, the lights glowed soft and warm. Zara paused at the ramp. Another trap? Raylan looked back. You can stay here or come in and eat. Your choice. She hesitated, then followed. The ship's interior was simple. A small cockpit, living quarters, and a kitchen with mismatched chairs. It smelled of metal, fuel, and spices. Raylan tossed her a packet of dried meat. Hungry? Zara caught it, sniffed, and ate cautiously. The taste was strange, but good. She hadn't eaten real food in days. I'm not your pet, she warned between bites. No, Raylan said, sitting across from her. But you're tired, hungry, and hunted. You can't survive alone forever. Zara's eyes narrowed. I've survived this long. Raylan nodded. But surviving isn't living. His words made her pause. She didn't understand them fully. But they stirred something inside her, a quiet ache she never admitted. So what now? She asked. Raylan leaned back. We leave this planet. I've got work, dangerous work. Could use someone with your talents. Zara studied him. You'd trust me? No, Raylan smiled. But I'll give you the chance to earn it. The ship engines rumbled as the craft lifted off. Outside the window, the alien market grew smaller, swallowed by the clouds. Zara sat quietly, staring. At the stars, she didn't trust him, not yet. But deep down, a strange feeling flickered. Something she hadn't felt in years, hope. The alarm rang loud inside the ship. Red lights flashed along the narrow halls, and the automated voice repeated, "Unauthorized access in the cargo bay. Intruder detected." Raylan jolted awake from his bunk. He didn't need to guess. He already knew. Zara was making her move. He grabbed his pulse pistol, but instead of rushing in, he walked slowly, a small smile forming on his face. He expected this dot in the cargo bay. Zara worked fast, her nimble green hands pulling wires from the wall, trying to unlock the side hatch. She had memorized every path and panel while pretending to ignore them. She knew ships like this, and if she escaped into space with a stolen pod, She'd be free again, or so she thought, as she pulled one last wire. A heavy door behind her slammed shut. She spun around, eyes flashing gold. Raylan stood on the upper walkway looking down at her. "I knew you'd try," Raylan said, calm and amused. Zara snarled, "Then you're a fool for letting me walk freely." Raylan shook his head. "No, I wanted to see how far you'd get. I even let the alarm stay quiet until you touched the hatch controls." Zara gripped a metal bar like a weapon. "You planned this?" Raylan chuckled. "Of course. You think I'd sleep so easy next to a Zalari warrior? You're strong, but not sneaky enough yet." She launched herself up the stairs with incredible speed, swinging the bar. Raylan dodged, but not before she grazed his arm. "Better," he admitted, wincing slightly. But then, with a press of a small device in his hand, the floor panels glowed faintly. Zara's feet stuck, her limbs stiffening. She growled, realizing. "Gravity locks, you trapped me," she shouted, struggling against the invisible pull. "No chains," Raylan said, stepping closer. "Just smart tech. I promise not to cage you, but I never said I wouldn't stop you from killing us both." Zara's breath was heavy, her muscles fighting the magnetic pull, but she couldn't move. Raylan knelt before her, looking into her furious eyes. "You're angry. I get that. But tell me, where would you have gone? Back to the slavers? The bounty hunters? You think anyone will let a Zalari live free?" Zara spat on the ground, but her fire dimmed. She knew he was right. Raylan stood, deactivating the locks. Zara fell to her knees, exhausted but still glaring. "I didn't buy you to keep you prisoner," Raylan said. "I bought you because I know your people were warriors, proud and powerful. You deserve to fight for yourself, not for some slimy auctioneer." Zara's voice was low, bitter. "My people are dead. I am the last." Raylan's gaze softened. "Then don't die alone. Fight with me. Or escape when you're smarter and stronger. Either way, I won't stop you again." Zara looked up, surprised. She could run, but for the first time, she wasn't sure she wanted to. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you care?" Raylan smiled faintly. "Because I was alone once too, and someone gave me a choice. Now I'm giving you one." Zara sat on the cold floor, her anger slowly melting into confusion. For the first time in her life, someone treated her not like a tool or beast, but as a person, and she didn't know how to feel about it. The ship shook violently as alarms blared again, but this time it wasn't Zara. Raylan ran to the cockpit and cursed under his breath. 3 ships were following them, pirate raiders. Their sharp, black crafts zipped through space like hunting wolves, their cannons lighting up with deadly energy. "We've got company," Raylan muttered, gripping the controls, from the hallway. Zara appeared, watching the flashing red lights and feeling the vibrations under her feet. "More of your friends?" she asked coldly. "Not mine," Raylan answered. "Pirates. They want to steal the ship. And you too if they find out you're here." Zara's eyes darkened. She remembered slavers. She remembered the chains, the cages, the laughter of those who thought she was less than them. Raylan fired the ship's weapons, but the pirates were faster, smarter. The ship took a heavy hit, sparks flying from the panels. Raylan muttered. "We can't outrun them." Zara stepped forward. "Then let me fight." Raylan turned to her, eyebrows raised. "With what? Your fists?" But Zara's body began to change. The faint glow of her green skin turned brighter, almost neon. Veins of light spread across her arms. Her golden eyes burned like twin suns. Raylan stared in awe. "What the hell?" Zara smiled for the first time, a sharp, dangerous grin. "I am Zalari," she said proudly. "We are born with energy inside us. They tried to suppress it, but they couldn't kill it." She ran to the cargo bay, stood at the center, and spread her arms. Her whole body pulsed with light. Energy built up around her like a storm waiting to explode. Outside, the pirates closed in. One aimed directly at the ship's hull. But then a burst of pure energy shot from the ship, a blinding beam that tore through the black of space. Zara's scream echoed through the halls, a mixture of rage and power. The nearest pirate ship was hit first. It exploded instantly, a fireball swallowed by the void. The other two swerved, trying to escape, but another wave of energy slammed into them. One lost its wing and spiraled out of control. The last turned tail and fled. Inside the ship, Raylan stood in shock. The monitors flickered back to normal. The threat was gone. Zara staggered, her glow dimming, her body steaming with heat. She dropped to her knees, panting heavily. Raylan ran to her side, catching her before she fell completely. You just destroyed them, he said, still wide-eyed. You're a walking weapon, Zara chuckled weakly. That's why they wanted me. That's why they called me dangerous. Raylan helped her sit up. You're not dangerous. You're incredible. Zara looked at him, confused. No one had ever said that. Raylan smiled. Remind me never to get on your bad side. For the first time, Zara felt something strange, not fear, not hatred, but pride. Maybe, just maybe, this human wasn't like the others, and maybe she wasn't just a prisoner anymore. The ship floated quietly through deep space. No more alarms, no more pirates. Only the soft hum of the engines and the endless stars outside the window. Inside the ship, the air was calm, but not the minds of its two passengers. Zara sat on the vase floor of the cargo bay, her back pressed against the cold steel wall. Her body still ached from the power she had used. The glow of her green skin had faded, leaving her looking tired and drained. Yet her golden eyes burned with the same sharpness, watching, waiting. Raylan entered the bay, carrying a tray with a steaming bowl of food and a bottle of water. He placed it down gently in front of her. She eyed the food suspiciously, as if it might be another trick. I didn't put poison in it. If that's what you're thinking, Raylan said with a small smile. Zara grunted but didn't touch it. Her pride was too strong, even if her stomach growled. Raylan sat down across from her, leaning his back against a crate. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, filled only by the quiet thrum of the ship. But then Raylan broke it. You don't have to stay here, you know, he said softly. Zara frowned. What are you saying? I'm saying you're free, Raylan replied. You can leave whenever you want. She stared at him, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. You expect me to believe that? You paid for me. Why would you let me go? Raylan leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. I didn't buy you to own you, Zara. I bought you because no one else saw what I did. And what's that? She asked coldly. That you're not a beast, Raylan said. You're a warrior. You deserve better than a cage. Zara clenched her fists. The words sounded sweet, but she had heard promises before. All lies, all traps. She shook her head. Humans lie, aliens lie, everyone lies. I'm not lying, Raylan said. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. Where would I even go? Zara snapped. My people are gone. My tribe is dead. The galaxy hates the Zalari. I'd be hunted again, captured again, alone. Raylan's face softened. Then, don't leave. Stay with me. Zara laughed bitterly. Stay with you? As what? Your pet? Your weapon? No, Raylan said firmly. As my partner. My equal. The words hung in the air like a strange melody. No one had ever said that to her, not since the fall of her people. Equal. It sounded impossible. You'd trust me that much? She asked, her voice low. I don't trust you yet, Raylan admitted with a grin. But trust is something you build. You've had every reason to hate everyone. I get that. But if you want to stay, we fight together. No chains, no orders, just partners. Zara stared at him, her mind spinning. She had spent her whole life fighting, surviving, running. Freedom had always been a distant dream, but now that it was being offered to her, it felt like a trick. "You could betray me," she whispered. Raylan nodded. "And you could kill me in my sleep." "I guess we'll both have to take that risk." Zara studied his face. She saw honesty there, something rare in her world. He wasn't afraid of her. He wasn't using her power. He just saw her dot slowly. Her eyes drifted to the food still sitting between them. Her pride screamed to resist, but her hunger won. She picked up the bowl and took a careful bite. The taste was simple but warm, filling her stomach with comfort she hadn't known in years. Raylan smiled as she ate. "You can stay here as long as you want. If you decide to leave later, I won't stop you." Zara chewed slowly, her eyes never leaving his. She saw no lies, no hidden games. Just a stubborn human who treated her like a person. She swallowed and said, "I'll stay, but if you betray me, I will end you." Raylan chuckled. "Fair deal." A small, rare smile tugged at the corner of Zara's mouth. It felt strange, like using a muscle she hadn't moved in years. For the first time, she wasn't someone's property. She wasn't a prisoner or a tool. She had a choice, and for now, she chose to stay. The stars outside kept moving, but for Zara, everything had changed. She wasn't alone anymore. The stars drifted slowly outside the ship's window, endless and silent. Zara sat in the cockpit, her knees pulled up to her chest, staring at the blackness beyond. She said nothing, but her mind was alive with old memories, faces of her family, the sound of war, the cries of her people. Raylan entered quietly and sat in the co-pilot seat beside her. For a moment, he didn't say anything either. He just watched the stars with her, knowing some silences were heavier than words. After a while, Raylan asked softly, "What are you thinking about?" Zara didn't answer immediately. She kept her eyes fixed on the dark sky, but her voice came low and rough. "My tribe," she whispered. "My people, the Zalari." Raylan turned to face her fully, listening carefully. "We were warriors," she continued. "Not because we loved to fight, but because we had to. The Zalari protected the weak, the lost. It was our way, our honor. But the galaxy doesn't want protectors, it wants control." Raylan watched her face, seeing the pain behind her golden eyes. "They feared us," Zara said bitterly. "They called us dangerous, unpredictable. Governments, mercenaries, bounty hunters, they all came together to destroy us. They told their people we were threats, monsters." She laughed quietly, but there was no joy in it. "And maybe we were. When you're hunted long enough, you start to believe it. We fought back, hard. We made them bleed, but in the end, they had more ships, more weapons, more lives to throw at us." Zara paused, her voice trembling. "I was just a child. When they came, I watched them burn my village. My parents died trying to protect me. My brothers, my sisters gone. I was the only one left. And when they captured me, they didn't see a child. They saw a prize, a wild, dangerous thing to be sold." She looked down at her hands, curling her green fingers into fists. "I spent my life in cages, markets, arenas. They tried to break me, to make me a weapon for their games. But I remembered who I was. I am Zalari." Raylan stayed quiet, letting her speak. He knew these words had been trapped inside her for too long. Zara turned her head slightly, her gaze hard. "You ask why I don't trust. That's why. I've never met a soul who wanted me for anything but my power." Raylan leaned back, his expression thoughtful. "I'm not going to pretend I understand all of that. But I know what it's like to lose everything. I was a soldier once, fought wars that made no sense, killed people who didn't deserve it. When I walked away, I was alone too." He looked at her seriously. "But I'm tired of running from the past. Maybe you are too." Zara stared at him, her sharp eyes searching his face. And what would you do, human? What's your grand plan? Raylan smiled faintly. I don't have one. But if you want revenge or justice, or whatever you want to call it, I'll help you. Why? She demanded. What do you gain? From this? Maybe nothing, Raylan admitted. But maybe I gain a friend. A partner. Zara laughed, a low, rough sound. You're strange, human. Raylan chuckled. So I've been told. Zara fell silent again, her mind spinning. She had never trusted anyone, never believed in allies. But this human. He was different. He didn't treat her like a monster. He didn't see her power as a tool, but as part of who she was. You'd fight for me? She asked softly. I'd fight with you, Raylan corrected. Side by side. That's the deal. Zara nodded slowly, as if deciding something deep inside herself. Then we start with the ones who made me a slave, she said, her voice cold and sharp. The ones who sold me. The ones who profit from the pain of others. Raylan grinned. Now that's a plan I can get behind. Zara's golden eyes glowed faintly in the dim cockpit. For the first time, the thought of fighting didn't feel like survival. It felt like purpose. She wasn't just a lost warrior anymore. She was a survivor with a mission. And she wasn't alone. Raylan stood and offered his hand. Partners? Zara looked at the hand for a moment, then took it. Partners, she agreed. Outside, the stars kept moving. But inside the ship, something had changed. A human and a Zalari, two broken souls, had made a pact, and the galaxy wasn't ready for them. The market had not changed. It was still crowded, loud, and dirty. The same auctioneers shouted prices. The same traders bargained over cages filled with frightened beings. The smell of metal, smoke, and fear still hung heavy in the air. But something was different. The air shifted when Raylan's ship landed at the edge of the market. The engines cooled with a hiss, and a cloud of dust rose around the landing ramp. From the shadows, traders watched closely, curious. Most remembered the strange human who had once bought the untamable Zalari girl. Many whispered that he must have died by now. No one could tame a Zalari. But when the ramp lowered, silence spread across the docks. Two figures stepped down side by side, not as master and slave, not as buyer and prize. Raylan walked with his usual confident stride, his black armor now repaired and shining under the weak sun. But beside him walked Zara, tall, proud, and fierce. Her green skin glowed faintly, her silver hair tied back, and her golden eyes sharp like a blade. She was no longer dressed in rags. She wore dark combat gear, fitted to her form, with belts holding small weapons. She looked every bit a warrior, but what caught everyone's attention was not her clothes, but how she walked, beside Raylan, not behind. The marketplace froze. Whispers passed like wind. Is that the Zalari girl? She's still alive? She's walking with him, like an equal. Raylan and Zara moved straight toward the auction stage, where another fat, three-eyed auctioneer was selling a pair of frightened creatures in a cage. Raylan stepped onto the platform without asking. The auctioneer blinked in shock. You. The human, the auctioneer stuttered. And her? Zara's gaze pierced the auctioneer, making him sweat. Raylan's voice rang clear. We're here to deliver a message. The crowd gathered, watching. Traders, buyers, slavers, all. Curious, no more Zalari slaves, Raylan declared. Anyone holding one will answer to her. Zara stepped forward, her eyes glowing brighter. The air around her crackled faintly with energy. The auctioneer chuckled nervously. And if we don't listen to your little threats, human? Zara raised her hand, her palm shining with light. A small pulse of energy burst from her fingers, blasting a nearby empty cage into pieces. The metal twisted and shattered like paper. Gasps spread through the crowd. Fear flickered in the eyes of the traders. You know what I am, Zara said coldly. You know what I can do. But this is your warning. Leave my people alone. Because next time I won't just break cages. Some traders backed away. Others whispered among themselves, weighing profit against survival. Raylan smiled. We're not here to kill anyone today. But you remember this moment. The Zalari are not extinct, and she's not alone. The auctioneer swallowed hard, nodding quickly. Raylan and Zara turned and walked off the stage, leaving behind a market that would never forget what they had seen. As they returned to the ship, Zara was quiet. Raylan looked over and asked, You good? Zara nodded slowly. They feared me before, but now they respect me. I can feel it. Raylan grinned. Fear without respect is just control. But fear with respect? That's power. Zara smirked. You're learning, human. They reached the ramp, and before boarding, Zara paused and looked back at the market one last time. She was no longer a slave. She was no longer running. She was standing tall, as her ancestors once did. Raylan watched her with pride. What now? He asked. Zara looked at him, her golden eyes steady. Now we find the others. If there are any more Zalari alive, I'll bring them home. Raylan nodded. Then let's start searching. They boarded the ship together, the ramp closing behind them with a hiss. The engines roared to life, lifting them back into the starry void. The galaxy was vast and dangerous. But for the first time, Zara felt hope. She wasn't alone anymore. She had an ally, a friend. And together, they would make sure the Zalari name would never be forgotten. Somewhere out there, the stars were waiting, and the warrior had returned.